And there you see in the middle seat, Dom Harvey ready to play Amulet Titan. Interesting matchups in the other slots as well. Rakdos Reanimator versus Grixis Delver over in Legacy.
Yeah, Rakdos Reanimator, one of my favorite decks in Legacy. It's insanely powerful. Starting off with a reveal of, I forget the name of the card. Why is this happening to me? Chancellor of the Annex, there it is. Chancellor of the Annex, very good at protecting your combo. But that's not the match we're watching. Amulet Titan here in a pure racing scenario against Joe Fortini's burn deck.
Yeah, and you see there Kabira Crossroads from Dominic Harvey gaining life right off the bat. I'm going to tell you something sick about Dom's list. Usually an Amulet Titan list plays one life gain land. In particular, now that they all play white, they play Kabira Crossroads. Dom has 3 life gain lands in his deck.
No way.
Yes, he does.
Come on.
That was his big innovation. He wanted 3 life gain lands.
His big innovation. Smart guy. Yep. Over here just gaining some life.
And those
it's
are
looking pretty good right now.
Those are
burned.
main deck. That is a main deck. 2 copies of Radiant Fountain, 1 copy of Kabira Crossroads. So as you see, Goblin Guide is doing its thing. I think we saw a light up the stage there and a Rift Bolt suspended. There we have a Blood Crypt. Going back over to Dom.
I'm not a huge fan of Rift Bolt in these decks. While it does give you the ability, sorry, not Rift Bolt, Shard Volley. Well, Rift Bolt too, and I'll get to that in a second. But Shard Volley encourages you to kind of fling your lands willy-nilly. Light Up the Stage is kind of trying to gain this card advantage, and the card advantage you're using ends up basically negating itself when you use Shard Volley. It's fine if you have a bunch of extra lands, but here, Joe actually ends up having a bunch of extra lands he's willing to sacrifice to said Shard Volley. But how bad would this look if he was stuck on 1 land?
Yeah,
it would look pretty bad.
Not a great spot to be in.
Luckily for him, he's a bit flooded, and that's okay.
There you see the Shard Volley as well as a bump in the night. I mean, this is an effective clock. Dom, you saw return the Kabira Crossroads 2-hand, going to get to replay it on the next turn, but he's facing an onslaught already.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. The Shard Volley, the Swift Spear attacking for 3, the Rift Bolt for the beginning of the turn, as well as that Goblin Guide attack. And Dominic Harvey is looking like he might just die next turn. He's going to gain some life here. Wow, 4 life here. That's a pretty big swing thanks to that Vesuva copping Kabira Crossroads.
Right, Dom with the ability to gain so much life from his mana base. Now he needs to make a proactive play, though. He has to survive this turn and get to actually start doing things that affect the game state. And thus far, he has not done so. Just lands gaining life. That's not enough.
Yeah, and Fortini here looks like he has a copy of Searing Blaze in hand, but no creatures to target just yet. I'm curious what that other card is. It kind of looks like a Lightning Bolt, and that's not a legal play. We're going to get that shut down.
I think he may be targeting his own creature.
Oh, wow. He targeted his own creature. That's insane. What a smart play. And then the Lightning Bolt pumping with the prowls, and that is exactly 8 damage to get the game.
Wow. Impressive stuff from Joe Fortini there. Played absolutely to the outs he needed. So Dominic Harvey made the right read. He had the life gain lands, had access to them. We saw his mana base gain him 6 life over the course of just a couple turns. Didn't matter. That's how powerful this burn deck is now. It's picked up such good tools that it's able to just absolutely obliterate an opponent's life total, even with some cushion built in.
Yeah, I mean, the really strong matchups for burn usually entail decks that don't kill your burned creatures. Your Monetary Swift Spears and your Goblin Guides effectively become 2 Lightning Bolts, sometimes even 3 Lightning Bolts just for this one card because there's no blockers on the other side and there's no removal. We saw that game. The Swift Spear, I believe, did 6 damage for 1 mana. The Goblin Guide did roughly the same, if not more.
Correct.
So, yeah. But the sideboards here, we're going to get those up for you in just a second. But we can go ahead and talk about the theory behind this matchup just a little bit. From the burn side of things, you're going to see Joe Fortini want to try to figure out a way to lock down the big explosive amulet draws from Dominic Harvey's Amulet Titan deck. In his sideboard, he has access to Skullcrack to potentially prevent some life gain. Searing Blood definitely does not come in. Leyline of the Void definitely does not come in. Surgical Extraction, again, not coming in. Grim Lavamancer, also not coming in.
It's just Skullcracks for Joe Fortini, and he's going to have to get rid of some of the dead cards. It'll be interesting to see if he keeps in something like the Searing Blaze. Essentially, only targets should be the really small mana creatures that this deck typically plays.
Yeah,
Dom doesn't have any of those, though. He does not have the secure Tribe Scouts.
But I don't know if Fortini knows that. Most of these Amulet Titan decks play Secure Tribe Scout. They play, Azusa Lost But Seeking. And while Dom actually has, one Azusa Lost But Seeking, he's way more so relying on Wayward Swordtooth and Trinket Mage to do some of the heavy lifting in the early turns, and then relying on his spells to let him play extra lands like Explore.
Yeah, Dom with just a wild deck list. I will tell you that I think Dom was probably disappointed to lose this matchup. On the Amulet side, you generally are happy with your burn matchup. If you do your thing, they cannot kill you. Now, that being said, a lot of my experience with this matchup does come pre-Ravnica Allegiance, where this deck got some very powerful additions. So maybe that just doesn't hold weight anymore, and maybe that's why we see Dom adding more life gain to his sideboard. His sideboard starts with 4 copies of Path to Exile, 3 Negates, 1 Chalice of the Void, 1 Cursor of Krufix, 1 Hornet Queen, 1 Obstinate Baloth, 1 Tormod's Crypt, 1 Reclamation Sage, 1 Relic of Progenitus, and 1 Spellskite. A nice selection of cards for Dom there.
Yeah, so Spellskite can potentially let you spend two life to prevent 3 damage if a Lightning Bolt, Shard Volley, or Skewer the Critics targets you. Reclamation Sage can take care of Eidolon of the Great Revel. Obstinate Baloth obviously can gain some life. Same with Courser Krufix, both definitely coming in. And then the one of Chalice of the Void and maybe the Negates come in. I really would rather talk about the theory behind this version of Amulet Titan in this particular matchup. You say, from your perspective, Amulet Titan usually pretty favored against burn, especially when you naturally draw your life gain land, whether that's Radiant Fountain or Kabir Crossroads, right?
Correct.
Dom's version, however, is not playing a lot of Azusa Lost But Seeking. His deck is significantly slower than normal, and he tried to make up for that last time with Through the Breach as well as Imracool, but this time around, instead relying on Trinket Mage to give himself a little bit more consistency rather than speed. And honestly, it's really taking away from this matchup, I think, because he's just not as fast as he used to be.
Fair enough. Todd, let's talk guild kits.
Guild kits?
Guild kits.
I would love to talk about guild kits.
If you're looking to upgrade some of your decks, these guild kits are packed with lots of high-quality playable cards. I know you're a Commander fiend. There's great upgrades for your Commander decks in all of these. I think that the Golgari one has hits like Deathrite Shaman, powerful cards across each and every one of the guild kits. What's your favorite guild, Todd?
Are you joking?
Just tell the people what your favorite guild is. Is it? What a surprise. Todd the Experimenter. I know, no one would have ever anticipated that. So me personally, I think I fall in the Orzhov camp.
Nah, you're a Simic guy.
You think I'm a Simic guy?
Well, you're not a traditional Simic guy. You are more of the theory behind Simic, which is experimentation at all costs.
Well, if you want to check out these guild kits, go check out go.starcitygames.com/GK2.
Of course, short for Guild Kit. 2 is in Ravnica Allegiance is the second set.
Correct. And it looks like our players are ready to go down in the feature match area. Dom's going to be on the play this time. That is very useful when you're facing down the burn deck. Let's see what he has to lead with.
Yeah, we got some updates from the back tables. Brandon Dempsey's Rakdos Reanimator deck takes down Game 1 against Tarek Patel's Grixis Delver. Not surprising in my book, but after sideboard, Grixis Delver does get access to a little bit more tools like Surgical Extraction, while Omar Beldon with his Sultai Climb deck takes Esper Control up a game from Dominic Harvey and Tarek Patel's side.
So you saw Dom lead with a Colony Garden, an important card in this matchup. It can hold off an attacker on a very key turn. All those little points matter where you just need to survive long enough to deploy your Primeval Titan, and that generally locks up the game. Over on the burn side, we do see a turn 1 Monastery Swiftspear. It'll be interesting to see if it does as much damage as the last Monastery Swiftspear did. But Dom has gone and used his Ancient Stirrings to get a Amulet of Vigor, one of the namesake cards for this deck, of course ensuring that any future tap lands will instead untap when they come into play.
Right, and that's really where the strength of the deck lies, the explosiveness. When you have Amulet of Vigor on the battlefield, a Primeval Titan gets 2 lands tapped normally, but them coming into play untapped lets you get Boros Garrison as well as Slayer Stronghold, and that ultimately lets you give it haste and do it all over again, this time with Double Strike and Sunhome Fortress of Legion.
Here we see a bump in the night from Joe. It's going to bring Dom to 16. He's going to go ahead and attack with the Monastery Swiftspear. Dom says it's time to cash in that plant token, makes a block, keeps his life total at 16. Do we have a follow-up from Joe? Looks like a suspended Rift Bolt is going to sit there in the ether until next turn when it's ready to cast. Dom's going to go ahead, untap, take a draw here. I think that was a Kabira Crossroads, possibly.
If that is true, then that's a very good draw.
Yes, it is. Dom wants to draw as many of those life gain lands as he can possibly muster.
Yeah, and if he has Wayward Sawtooth in hand, which I think he does, every bounce land is going to allow him to replay that Kabira Crossroads.
Here we see Amulet of Vigor. What's the follow-up from Dom?
So he has 1 mana floating, so if he plays a bounce land here as land for turn, he has to return it, but it allows him to play this Wayward Sawtooth, and he still has 1 more land to play.
Yep, very nice sequencing from Dom. You see he's going to go ahead and replay the Colony Garden, getting another blocker for the Monastery Swiftspear here.
Yeah, Wayward Sawtooth is a super interesting addition to this deck, just giving you ways to hit extra land drops. Obviously, it doesn't really do anything until you hit your 10th permanent for Ascend, but you know, once that happens, that is just an alternate route to victory. Let's say your opponent hits you with a bunch of surgical extractions or whatever and takes away our Primeval Titans. Wayward Sawtooth is a fine win condition, plays fine blocker, allows you to play 2 lanes a turn, so you get to go bounce in Kabira Crossroads or use it alongside Colony Garden to make plants. It's a really powerful effect, and one we've seen in the past on the likes of Oracle of Moldiah, cards that have been hits in their respective formats at various times.
Yeah, and the Amulet deck has a tendency to get wider than you would expect. It is capable of hitting that threshold for City's Blessing a little bit ahead of curve. Now, granted, there's a lot of bounce lands and stuff going on, so you generally don't have as many lands in play as most decks.
That's true.
But there's weird stuff like plant tokens, like Amulets of Vigor, that do allow it to sometimes hit that threshold before you would expect it to.
I think a slight mishap here from Joe Fortini, perhaps not realizing the Wayward Sawtooth, unable to block. Goes upstairs with a Lava Spike and does not send in, leaving that plant token to sit.
Yeah, this is not a card modern players are particularly used to playing around, and I think just unfamiliarity may have caught Joe there. Now, Dom played a Kabira Crossroads. Joe had response. That points me to Skullcrack here. I think he's going to negate the life gain of this Kabira Crossroads, or at least attempt to.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great start for him to get out of this, so to speak. Being able to Skullcrack to prevent that 2 life gain. Dominic, however, still has 1 land that he can play for the turn, thanks to that Wayward Sawtooth. And if he has something like Explore, well, actually, no, the Skullcrack keeps it for the rest of the turn, so never mind.
Right. Yeah, it's going to shut down the rest of this turn, but Dom can still look to improve his board position and maybe get some inroads to playing defense. It'll be interesting to see if next turn Joe recognizes that he is not vulnerable to that Swordtooth, although it looks like a new creature is going to enter the battlefield on Dominic's behalf. He's going to go get a Primeval Titan. You know what that means. Yep.
What does it mean?
There's our Boros Garrison. That means it's go time, Todd.
Okay. The Boros Garrison already on the battlefield, but thanks to the 1 copy of Vesuva, he can go get Slayer Stronghold, as well as Vesuva, and copy the Boros Garrison, untapping, giving that Primeval Titan haste, allowing it to attack again for a huge chunk of damage. Unfortunately for Dominic, I think he's a little short of lethal here. We're going to see what happens.
Yeah, who knows what Dominic, who knows what his deck is capable of. There could be some kind of unpredictableness in there, but I don't think so. I think he is going to pass on lethal, just trying to probably get a nice little attack in here, get some more lands. There you see the Slayer's Stronghold and Vesuva. They're going to both untap due to Amulet of Vigor. He's going to give the Primeval Titan plus 2/0 Vigilance, key part of the equation there for the Primeval Titan deck. And haste, and also this is going to bring City's Blessing online as well once this Titan actually attacks.
Yeah, currently it is not quite City's Blessing, so this Wayward Sawtooth is not going to be able to attack this turn. I think that Dominic's going to settle for a swing for 8, trampling, generating a bunch of advantage. Perhaps even here getting something like Talaria West plus Simic Growth Chamber, and then transmuting for a Pact of Negation to make sure that he doesn't die to a burn spell. But with the Summoner's Pact triggering next turn, that's not really a great option. He has to spend a lot of mana next turn already, and that will, I don't think he can actually pay for it.
No, he won't be able to do both. He can only pay for the Summoner's Pact. Pact of Negation not going to be an option for Dominic here. It'll be interesting to see what lands he wants to get. I think he needs to just survive the next turn, and he will win. But that is not a guarantee. There's no guarantee he makes it through the next turn. That Skullcrack really, really timely from Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe has 3 mana. I know he has a Searing Blaze in hand, but he doesn't necessarily have the land to use it. And I don't think he has any 4-point damage spells here. And with a Primeval Titan blocking that Monastery Swift Spear, I think he might be in a little trouble. I think his only real out is light up the stage.
Right. I think you're exactly right. I think he needs to have damage spell, light up the stage, and can then chain things that way. It also has to be a 1-mana damage spell. I mean, maybe there's actually no, if he has Searing Blaze, there may not be a configuration that works for him.
Well, it looks like he has Shard Volley, Searing Blaze, and Lightning Bolt.
That's not going to do it. And I think when Dom gets the turn back, he's going to be able to gain enough life or either outright kill Joe that he'll be able to be protected and send this to a game 3. Let's see what happens here. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We know anything can happen. Players don't know what's in each other's hands. Dom may choose to play it safe.
Yeah, it's always frustrating as a burn player to be able to get your opponent to 1, but not quite seal the deal. But I think that Dom has this one wrapped up from here. Just make sure, though, we're going to take it slow. We're going to make sure that there are no outs from Joe Fortini's side.
Joe's just going to go ahead and pass back the turn.
See
if Dom can remember to pay for the Summoner's Pack.
I was going to say that was the out.
That's always the out.
Summoner's Pack trigger was the out.
Always the out, for sure.
It's important to note here, Dom actually did bring in that Reclamation Sage. Definitely a nod, not only to main deck Eidolon of the Great Revel, but also potential sideboard Ensnaring Bridge, which occasionally pops up and really locks down your ability to win the game with Primeval Titan.
Yeah, I think it's actually a key card in this matchup. It looks like Dominic is going to go for the win here, based on what I'm seeing him do. Going to go get Pact of Negation. Let's see what the follow-up is. Here's Kabir Crossroads, going to go to 9.
Right, looks like he has the City's Blessing. I believe if he just turns everything sideways and actually activates Slayer Stronghold, it should be enough. Oh, I didn't even think about this play. Killing the Primeval Titan here before attacks. It's not lethal, but Dominic did wisely go get that Pact of Negation. If he uses it here, that Titan is going to stay alive, and it's going to take the game. Perhaps if Joe had not played it tricky and had just killed the Primeval Titan before Dominic got to untap.
Dom's going to let it resolve, though.
Whoa.
I mean, Joe has 1 card in hand. Dom's at 9 life. I think he's mostly safe. But I think he played with fire there. I really do. I think there was other lines to possibly take. I mean, he could fear a potential, like, removal spell from the open black mana, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Name me one.
Murderous Cut.
There it is. That's the one. Wow, you did it.
Congrats. I don't know.
Yeah, you caught the tater. You
got him. I'm trying to pull this one together and figure it out.
I mean, he's just playing it ultra safe, right? Like, he has the Kabir Crossroads going alongside Wayward Swordtooth. You know, he feels like the Pact of Negation may be better served to guarantee a win in the longer term. Whereas, you know, honestly, Murderous Cut is a card that can really punish him there, and it exists, right? And it's something that this burn deck might actually want to play since they don't have access to Path to Exile.
Yeah, and here you see Dom has the second amulet and the Pact, going to go get another Titan. I mean, there's no way this isn't the end of the game. It's just second amulet is pretty trivial. You're able to do basically whatever you want at that point. The world is your oyster. Although, are we still looking at 2 burn spells? We are, but not enough mana to cast them. It's a Shard Volley as well as
and the Searing Blaze doesn't do a whole lot at the moment.
Right. And I think Dom will recognize that. See, gaining more life from Radiant Fountain. He gets the Sunhome Fortress of Legion, can now give the Primeval Titan double strike. If he chooses, here's an attack. Go ahead and scoop him up, Joe. We're going to head to game 3. I think Dominic just wanted to have absolute safety there. I can't really fault his way of play. We identified a card that could potentially damage him.
Yep.
He played around it, and that's what good players do. They find a way to never lose a game that they should have won.
Right.
So.
I mean, the goal when you are that far ahead at all times should be worst case scenario. And without access to your opponent's deck list, this is obviously a new build of Burn, and people could go a number of ways. Right. I mean, as we see right now, Fortini actually opting for 4 copies of Leyline of the Void and 2 copies of Surgical Extraction, really graveyard hate heavy. But number of those could very easily be Murderous Cut. When you said that out loud, it actually just kind of ticked, because all of the Boros versions play like 3 to 4 Path Exile in the sideboard. And it seems like a pretty reasonable card to supplant in that spot when you can't actually play Path.
Right. Well, one of the things also worth noting about these Nouveau Burn decks is that they're just a ton of 1-drops.
Yep.
They have light up the stage. They see more cards, and that makes Murderous Cut even that more plausible. Right. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm going to hunt down Dom after this game. Wouldn't surprise me if that was the card that crossed his mind there.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult to argue that Murderous Cut is going to be there in that spot, ever, because he threw 2 of his precious burn spells at the Primeval Titan.
Very true.
With his opponent at 7 life, he threw 6 points at the Titan, right?
Okay.
So at the same time, though, why not? If you have the game like 100% locked up next turn, your opponent has literally 1 card in hand. They're going to have 2 lands. They're going to be drawing a second card. You're going to be at 9 life with a Pact of Negation, with another Primeval Titan coming next turn to gain you more life. There's no reason to overextend, and there's no reason to randomly lose to a card that you might not even think about. There might have been some other card that we're just not even thinking about for 1 black mana that could have punished them in that spot.
Well, let me add another wrinkle to all this analysis, and it's interesting, but also Joe didn't try and do that combination of burn spells on the Primeval Titan until Dom had already transmuted the Teleria West and gone and gotten the Pact of Negation. And that has to have set off alarm bells in Dom's head. What is he thinking at that point? It's really hard to understand why you would not just guarantee the Titan off the table in response to the transmute trigger. I mean, it seems purposeful, and I'm sure that just set Dom on edge enough that he had to play it a little bit safer. So maybe a fine play by Joe, just putting him in the wrong spot. I don't know. A lot to unpack in that game. I think that ultimately we got to the right spot as far as the outcome goes. Dom was far enough ahead and was able to convert. But a really interesting game to unpack. And if you are enthralled with Dom's deck right now, can't wait to do this new version of Amulet Titan, or maybe you're into this new Burn deck, why not head over to the Star City Games sale? You see the amazing cards on sale this week. There's Aloran. There's Skullbriar, the Walking Grave, whose text I could not tell you if you paid me $1 million. There's a Japanese Liliana Vest. These are exactly what you may need to play either Burn or Amulet Titan. Who knows?
I mean, I definitely need that mountain.
Yeah.
That
sure,
was a Battle for Zendikar mountain up there at the top right. Now, the Magic Gathering sale going on right now. You can go to go.starcgames.com/sale and peruse all the great deals we have going on right now. And this goes through Monday, but guess what? Next week, we've got another sale.
Yeah, refresh the sale
every
cards. Single week, new cards every week. Always worth checking out. I always make sure first thing Monday morning I go and check out the sale. Looks like the players have drawn their openers. Dom with a look of consternation on his face right now. You do see Omar Beldon has taken his match as Sultai Climb over Justin Bover. Just getting an update from our back match. It sounds like Legacy's going to go to Game 3, so nothing certain about this matchup yet. Still very unclear who the winner is going to be.
And just so you at home know, we are adamant this weekend about showing you the final turns of the match. We will try our best at all points to make sure that the match will not end off camera. Occasionally, we will pause matches, allow the one we're watching to finish. And if that one finishes and the match is over, great. If that one finishes and the match is not over, we'll bring you the rest of the game or sometimes even a whole game from the other side. And that's thanks to our wonderful spotters here. The rest of the coverage team, we got Nick Miller making sure everything runs smoothly. We got Emma in the background you can see right there making sure that everything runs smoothly as well. And sometimes, Matthias shows up.
Occasionally. if he's not out hat shopping, then he's able to join us over in the feature match area. But
you may make fun of his hat, but they're great.
Oh, I think they're great too. But he's a man with a lot of hats. That takes time. You have to be devoted to your hat shopping. He squeezes it in wherever he can.
So on our trip to Worcester a few weeks ago, We get off the plane, in Baltimore, and we're looking for an Uber to a train station so we can train an hour to Worcester, right? And when we're about to get to the train station, Matthias says, y'all go ahead without me. There's a hat place nearby.
There you go.
And so he actually,
proving my point.
Me and Ryan are just kind of looking at each other. We're just like, kidding me right now? Are you serious?
100%
Dude.
serious.
He's like, what? There's a really cool hat store nearby. Okay. And then I took some really wonderful pictures with his hat that Sunday night when we were having our Tig-Tone watch party.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good time. And y'all may think we're joking about the Tig-Tone watch party. It's not a joke. It's fun.
Dead serious.
Yeah, 100%.
If you could see my face now, it's one of the most serious faces I've ever put on.
It's almost as serious as Dom Harvey's face on a mold of 6, going to 5.
We're going to 5, and Dom does not look pleased. I will say this. Amulet Titan is not a quantity combo deck. It's a deck that can go off with very few pieces. Give me an Amulet and a Primeval Titan. That's about all I need. A few lands, and we get there. And also the bounce lands do a good job of mitigating mulligans. You're able to get a full mana base out of just a few cards, which is very impactful.
Right, and I mean, that's something that I learned a long time ago in original Ravnica draft. You could sometimes get away with playing fewer lands than normal because those bounce lands counted as 2 effectively land drops. And every time you mulligan, it was mitigated by the fact that those do effectively count as drawing a card every time you play one and are able to bounce a non-bounce land back to your hand.
Looks like Dom has consented to the 5-card hand. Taking a look at the top card, you see, even though Dom is the Amulet Titan master of the team, a lot of input from all the folks. Looks like we kept a Growth Chamber on top. Good read from Dom. Gets the payoff on the Goblin Guide. Already taking steps to overcome that mulligan.
And if I'm not mistaken, Dom has an Amulet of Vigor that he's about to play. And this game could be fireworks.
Oh, yeah.
Start to finish,
This
baby.
is the start. The turn 1 Amulet, turn 2 Bounced Land. Who knows what we have on turn 2? Is it an Azusa? Is it a Wayward Swordtooth?
Eidolon the Great Revel off the top for Joe. Is going to apply some pressure and punish Dominic for playing anything next turn, whether that's Wayward Swordtooth or whatever.
There you see the Primeval Titan on the top of the deck.
It's
There's a lot of configurations where the game could just potentially end on the next turn, which sounds ludicrous.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah, that's how explosive Amulet Titan is. I mean, he needs a second Amulet. Look.
He mulliganed to 5. Get out.
I promise you
I believe
he could
you.
win on that turn.
I know he needs a second Amulet, a Bounce Land, and a Azusa, and then that's Titan.
That's it.
But that's usually only 16 damage, right? It's only 16 damage.
Oh, don't make me do Amulet math on the fly.
It's only 16.
No, you get 2 untaps on both the Boros Garrison as well as the Survey Stronghold.
You gonna give it Quadruple Strike?
No, you make it a 10-0.
Oh,
you activate twice.
No, you're right. You're right. Okay, fine.
You made me check myself for a second, Tom, but I've done that dance many times. There we see a Radiant Fountain from Dom. Going to gain some life. Slow going on Dom's side, though. Something has to happen very soon. He may not get another turn.
Yeah, this is coming in
There's
here.
a Summoner's Pact.
Hot and heavy.
Falling to 4, though.
Lava Spike.
Yeah,
There's
the Lava Spike. There's the Lava Spike.
And
Just
that's
too explosive.
The match for Joe Fortini. It's all going to come down to Brandon Dempsey versus Tarek Patel. Let's see if this Rakdos Reanimator deck can take down this Grixis Delver strat. Brandon Dempsey is going to be on the play. We're going to be moving the cameras here so we can get this set up here for y'all. Don't freak out.
Promise I won't.
Okay, good. Ah! Ah!
Todd, you were the one who told me not to freak out, and then you freaked out.
Look, do as I say, not as I do.
Oh, I'm learning that very quickly.
Oh, of course, Tarek's in the bathroom. Great. Awesome. Emma, can you tag it for Tarek? Because, look, it's a team tournament. Let Dom play his deck. Come on.
All right, slide him over. Just get this going. All right, we'll wait a few minutes. We can discuss what we just saw. Basically, what it was Burn
clowning,
having the absolute stones.
Oh yeah,
like just
turn 4 kill.
Extremely explosive and able to wipe out Dom before he was able to really get anything on board. It looked like Dom was looking at a good mulligan to 5. There's not many of those, but he had the pieces. He had turn 1 Amulet. He had the bounce land. He drew an extra card off the Goblin Guide. So we saw a lot of the pieces floating to the top of Dom's deck. There was a Summoner's Pact. There was a Primeval Titan. All the pieces just missing that one key spot, Azusa. And
Yep.
only playing one copy of Azusa, so, you know, Dom doesn't really expect to always have that turn 2, turn 3 Azusa. It's not what his deck does on a regular basis, and maybe paying the cost for it a little bit there.
Yeah, and, you know, Burn is definitely a matchup where you cannot afford to slow down. They're going to put the pressure to you, and their deck's going to do literally the same thing every time. And if left unfettered, they're going to kill you on turn 4 or 5 every darn game.
Yeah, it's only gotten more consistent with the addition of Light Up the Stage and the reduction of the converted mana cost of the cards in the deck. Obviously, there could be hiccups with any deck. And if you're playing a lot of 2-mana burn spells and you only draw 2 lands over the course of the game, you're limited to 1 spell per turn.
Right.
That's kind of disastrous for the burn deck. It gives these other decks a chance to set up and to execute their game plan. Not with this new version, though. It sounds like our players are ready.
Let's
down in
go.
The future match area.
We got
Let's cut
Tark
back.
Patel on your right, playing Grixis Delver against Brandon Dempsey on your left, Rakdos Reanimator. Again, fireworks. This is game 3. This is for the match.
Explosive deck in Rakdos Reanimator. It can take the game before an opponent even has a chance to do anything. See, though, just to start with Lotus Petal. I wonder if we're dealing with a mulligan from Brandon. Sounds like he's on 6 cards, but that's not a fantastic 6 where Lotus Petal is
There
your
it is.
only play.
We got a land, baby. Let's go, Brandon.
We got there just how we drew it up.
Look, I can be – okay, there are a few things that I will lean my bias towards, okay? A few people, all right, one of which my wife, of course.
Okay.
And then the decks that I play.
Okay.
I love me some Rakdos Reanimator. Brandon, you better show this fool. Let's go.
Faithless Looting from Brandon. Going to look to deposit some of the goods in the graveyard. Let's see if Tariq has a response here.
So Tarek does have a bit of protection, but may just let this go. Brainstorm in hand, could dig for something like Force of Will. Personally, I love trying to hit those graveyard enablers from these decks. They're usually pretty heavy on their reanimation aspects. They usually play 11 or 12 of the reanimate or animate dead or what have you, whereas they only have roughly 8 of the Faithless Looting / Entomb effects. But with that Lotus Petal on Brandon's side, Day's not really doing it, and maybe you want to save Force of Will for something later on.
Yeah, Tark had the Delver, I believe, in hand, chose not to play it, instead leaving mana up, then didn't do anything with that mana.
Right, but that could also be a bluff, right?
Of course. And this Reanimator deck can basically lock up the game on turn 1. Obviously, that was turn 2 for Brandon, but you could see why Tarek would want to play a little bit safer. Here we find a Wasteland. I don't think he's going to pass on this turn, and he is not. There's the Delver of Secrets, looking to get a clock on board.
Yeah, it looks like Tark does have a Daze, but no other protection. This Lotus Petal drawn from Brandon, if he could combine that with a 1-mana spell like Reanimate and pay for the Daze, or just cast that Dark Ritual in hand, he could bring back this Chancellor of the Annex and really put the needle to Tarek's deck. They don't really have a great answer for these large creatures other than a handful of Diabolic Edicts after sideboard.
Correct. Possibly Murderous Cut one more time. Who
Oh,
knows?
yeah.
Murderous Cut, the theme of this round, apparently. Here we see a second Lotus Petal.
Now, this is the turn for Dempsey. I thought, never mind, maybe he doesn't have it.
Also interesting not dazing the Lotus Petal when it was played there. I think you can make an argument for fighting Brandon on his mana base.
Perhaps, but if he goes for a 2-mana reanimation spell there, you
Get an
need
extra
that
card.
Daze, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think the upside is higher on just not dazing there for sure.
Right. And then you snag both of the Lotus Petals
Correct.
and the spell cast.
Correct. Powerful draw there from Tarek. We saw a Surgical Extraction enter his hand.
Now I'm sad, because these are the games I lose when I play Rakdos Reanimator.
Mm-hmm.
You stumble a little bit, you mulligan here or there, and then your opponent plays a stupid Delver of Secrets. I shouldn't say that, because Delver of Secrets, we go way back. You know, it's a shame when friendships end like that, you know?
Well, I know. All good friendships must come to an end at some point.
Wow, cynic. Jesus.
I don't know if you watched last week's cast, but we get dark here when I'm casting. We'll talk about all the endings.
The only thing I watched from last week's cast were my 2 feature matches, sir, because I wanted to see what y'all said about my decks. Unfortunately, you and Jerry didn't get to commentate
We missed on
the
both
madness.
Because, boy, would we have had some stuff to say, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah, about how amazing I played.
Obviously. Nothing but.
And how great my deck was.
That was my exact thought. Thank you for filling in.
You're welcome.
The viewers.
You're welcome.
So Tarek doing Delver stuff, fixing draws, building a mana base, clocking very early, as Delver has done since its initial appearance in the Legacy format many, many years ago. Been a staple since the beginning, shows no signs of going anywhere.
Yeah, it was amazing how quickly players adapted to playing with Delver of Secrets and Legacy, and I'm curious if Terramander is going to be on that same path. People are starting to realize that you can start to play more basic lands if you stick to 1 or 2 colors. You don't have to get so beat up by Wasteland. You're not as vulnerable to Blood Moon. And you have most of the same tools in 2 colors that you do in 3 because of the depth that Legacy provides.
Yeah, very good point. So we saw just a pass from Tarek there. Here's an unmask from Brandon. Wanted to get a look at Tarek's hand, seeing if he can get rid of some key protection that Tarek might be leaning on. And Tarek's going to pass it over. It looks like 3 dazes.
And 2 surgicals? Are you kidding me?
Whew. That is a discard-proof hand if I have ever seen one, Todd.
Yeah, and I'm sure Brendan really wished that that was a Cabal therapy right now.
Right. Yeah, would have hit much harder. Man, that's going to be tough for this Rakdos deck to play through. I've seen wilder things. It can happen. It's going to require some perfect play and maybe a little bit of luck from Brandon, though.
I think more so than anything, it's going to require a Cabal therapy immediately to take care of the dazes. Maybe another discard spell to take care of the surgicals.
Yeah, live draws in the deck for Brandon. If you go ahead and take a look over on Cardboard Live, you'll see we have the 4 copies of Cabal Therapy. I would assume they're all present in post-board games. No reason for those to go anywhere.
They better be.
Yeah. Let's see what Brandon can do. Meanwhile, Tarek's just putting the beats on, pondering, fixing draws, getting more gas, doing Delver stuff, basically. This is textbook Delver stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of slow roll them, right? You play a Delver of Secrets. You chip them here for 1 if you don't transform. Then you start hitting them for 3. And then you hit them with a Wasteland. And then you daze their next spell. And then you present them with multiple copies of Surgical Extraction in their graveyard-based deck like a jerk.
No play from Brandon, just passing the turn back to Tarek. Delver continues to beat. Brandon's going to fall to 7. I see a Jace the Mind Sculptor in Tarek's hand. Not interested, doesn't need to. Another land there for Brandon. Looked like a swamp off the top. That may open up some options, but there's just a lot to deal with for Brandon right now before he can really move forward in any meaningful way with this game.
All right, I'm going to tell you a sequence here that can potentially get Brandon out of this.
Let's hear it.
Maybe not with that Spell Pierce drawn. That one might be a little too much when combined with all that other disruption. But you start with a Dark Ritual.
Okay.
You cast an Exhume. In response, Tarek plays Surgical Extraction, takes away all of your Chancellor of the Annex. Womp womp. Except after the Surgical Extraction resolves, before your Exhume resolves, you can use the floating black mana from the Dark Ritual to cast Entomb. And then that lets you go get a Gristlebrand or what have you, or maybe an Elvish Norn.
This sounds decent. And it looks like we do have a play from Brandon here.
Well, you
going
gotta
to sacrifice a Lotus Petal and play
Animate Dead. That is an alternate art. Looks like he's in the squeeze. Delver of Secrets doing Delver of Secret things. And unfortunately for Brandon Dempsey, he falls to 4-2-1 alongside his teammates, where Tariq Patel, Dominic Harvey, and Omar Beldon are 5-1-1